I've added some clear coat to the cage. I wasn't quite happy with how the paint turned out, the finish. It was actually leaving fingerprints, and any dirt was sticking to it kind of. So it wasn't a smooth coat. It was kind of like a powdered coat almost to the finish of the paint that we were using. And I wasn't happy with it, so I got some clear coat and I clear coated the frame, and then I gave it a quick sanding, not sanding, but Scotch-Brite. Quick scuff with Scotch-Brite. Knocked off any of the little, the bit of fuzz to the clear coat that I didn't apply the clear coat thick enough. It was quite hot the day I was doing it, and it seemed to be drying quicker than I could almost put it on. So what I was doing was I Scotch-Brayed the whole frame again and smoothed it out a bit, and then hit it again with clear coat, but this time I really applied it thick, and it laid it down nice and smooth with a lot better of a finish. I'll be quite happy with this, so will Gord, I think. But we're going to continue on with the rest of the build. Well, the start of the build anyway. I'm going to take this is the rear end. Nice aluminum rear end that Gord's purchased for his truck build here. It's got the axles here, the drop down axles. And I'm going to take it all apart and grease it all up. Use the SDRC lube tube, easy bearing lube, and it also works good on gears too. So I'll take all this apart, hit all the bearings up with the lube, put everything back together. I just picked up some new Loctite, some Permatex. I don't know if my camera's picking that up properly. Permatex blue. It's in a new tube. You can actually, you roll this up at the bottom, you twist this thing, and it comes out the top there. There's a cap here, obviously, and it will come out the end there, and it says just put some on the threads and you're good to go. So, and it's a paste, so you're not leaking liquid all over the bench and stuff and making a mess. So hopefully it's a bit cleaner for a job. Anything to make a little bit tidier it's always nice. So anyway, I'm going to get this all pulled apart, and I'll show you maybe when I get it opened up and I'm doing some bearings or something. I'll give you another clip, and then I'll give you a clip when it's all put back together. All right, I've got the rear portal axle all apart. Well, not all apart. I've taken one part aside here. You can see this center is all apart, and this one side is all apart. And I left this side together so I could follow exactly how it is, putting it back together. So I don't have any concerns or questions on how that goes. I'll just leave one side together and do one at a time. Easiest way. Don't get confused. So basically I'll be packing all the bearings in this casing here. You can see there's a little bit bearing there in the end. There's also one inside of here. I couldn't get this piece separated from this piece. It was put together at the factory rather tight, and I wasn't into really wrenching on it. I tried to get some pliers on it and kind of wiggle it apart, and it just was not coming apart. So I opted to just leave it together. Over time, these pieces are going to get worn a bit from the truck twisting and torquing. So these will get loose. Most likely this joint will get a bit loose, and we'll be able to separate it when we do maintenance. But until then, I've packed the bearing you can see there. I packed it, and the other hole has a bearing inside of it. So I just stuffed the grease applicator in there, the bearing grease applicator, and I just filled it, not full, but I filled it adequately enough so when I put the axle back in there, it should push a bit of lubricant all the way down and into here. There's no bearing in this end. It just rides on the aluminum. It just rides. Yeah, I guess there's no bearing in there, but there's a bearing in this piece here. This is the other part. Or wait, sorry, other end. Here, there's a bearing. So right there. So that supports the weight and the drive of the axle. But I just wanted to show you guys this all apart, this half anyway. I'm going to get it all put back together and all greased up as much as I can, show you what it looks like. These bearings here, they don't have a seal in one side. and the other side has a metal seal, so I'll be able to pack those bearings quite significantly with the lubricant. You can see there is some grease in there. It's probably a rather cheap grease, so I will probably wipe that out and just add our own stuff in there to make sure we got some good stuff and the two aren't mixing together and causing an issue, you know. Some lubricants don't mix well together. They get all clumpy and they just don't mix well. Anyway, we'll continue on. All right, I've got this rear end completely all reassembled back together. Everything's Loctited. All the bearings have been greased sufficiently, and she's nice and smooth now. Feels great. After I spun the axle, you know, for probably about 10-15 seconds, it just started feeling really smooth. Worked all that grease into all the bearings, and she feels great now. So I'm going to put this off to the side, and I am going to start, going to start the front end here. Here's the front end. It's got a nice carbon fiber servo mount here on there. Really nice piece. I'm going to take and do the same thing with this. Strip it down, grease everything really well, all the bearings, and then assemble it all with Loctite, and it'll be ready to install in the truck. Alright, I've got the complete front end all disassembled and reassembled. All the bearings are greased with our SDRC bearing lube and gear lube. It's a twofer. It's a 2-in-1. Everything feels nice and smooth now. It's great. Every screw was taken out and Loctited with blue Loctite, except for these screws for the servo, which I will do when I install the servo. And also, what else did I not do? Oh, obviously these suspension link mounts, because I'll be adding the links and then I'll Loctite them after then. Everything was taken apart. Yeah, all the gears look great. They look strong. Everything looks in decent shape, and yeah, I'm quite happy with these. I was actually thinking while I was doing this, I might have to ask Gord for a link to these, this front and the rear end, because I'm actually liking them. I think my Wraith would look good with these on it. The portal axles are great. It gives you more ground clearance, and yeah, there's a few added bonuses. My Wraith is already a big tanky beast anyway, so I think adding a bit more weight, I mean, these are heavy. I didn't do a weight comparison. Maybe I'll try and do that and give you guys a... Well, actually, I don't know. I can't compare them because I don't have the stock Wraith ones out of my truck, and Gord never had any for this build. So basically, I can weigh these ones and tell you that, but I don't know. I don't have a comparison for you. So, but I can give you the overall weight for each one of these, the front and the rear. Oops, they are looking really nice. Great pieces. I'm looking forward to putting them in and checking them out. Anyway, I'm going to get on with this build.